Botswana National Youth Council, Tshidi M Wyllie.
It's 15 minutes after 1, one hashtag youth cafe. Remove week 6 of emotionally and physically instinct. Typically, like the Ministry of Youth Empowerment and Sports, Ministry of Youth Empowerment, Sports and Culture Development, Mohole Botswana National Youth Council, NYC. And Taka Thabiso Tshwenyana FM, good communication skills.
Hello, Thabiso Tshwenyana. Warren le rapo. Hey. Hey, ke mo phego. A ke ba to go tshela COVID or flu. Hey.
Let's talk about
Communications. Thabiso a simolle hela ya lo motho a mekere kana wa bona gore gona ka mo se le mo sone sa COVID, there is anxiety, the emotions are running high, there is stress, there is a lot of pain, there is a lot of frustrations. I get it. So therefore that affects our mental well-being. And therefore, there are certain things that are within our circle of control. There are certain things that are not within our control or our influence. There are things we can change, but then there are things that we cannot change. And therefore, we are living in a season where it's very, very important for us as people to element their flexibility. Flexibility e re thusa gore ra amogele dilo tse e leng gore ga re na taolo mo go tsone re be re kgona go change re kgona go adapta gore re itepatepanye le diemo tse re leng mo go tsone. It gives us the ability to be able to at the same time freely communicate our needs, whilst at the same time we know that other people that we live with, people we work with, their own needs. It's the ability to comfortably be able to feel secure and free to share how you feel, share your needs, share your thoughts, talk about your emotions without fear of being vilified, as well as improving the way you communicate with others. Having an awareness of ya ka ke bua gona le batho ba ba ntheditseng mme yalo mahoko a tswang a ya go go bone ga se gore a amogelwa the same way ra harologana ba bang ba twa go utwa e le gore ke a rise, whereas other people are going to interpret se ke se bua in a different way, and then develop a mindset wa go nna flexible le gore you can never actually really please everybody, and therefore you have to be cognizant of the diversity and the differences and be flexible. Otherwise we'll have more stress, more anxiety, more conflict, and more frustrations in our families, at our workplace, in our nation. So ne ke bata gore ke re me go botlhokwa gore re ele thoko gore where there is poor communication, ha e leng gore ga go buisanngwe sente, we don't communicate or we are lacking effective communication skills, there is bound to be conflict. That is what I think. Do you agree, Hori? Tota ha ile gore ga re buisane sente gantsi go nna le kgothang.
Yeah, ke a dumelana tota gore ga ile gore a gona effective communication kana go gona le some sort of communication breakdown. Gona le gore bongwe re ka hatana ka megopolo le ka
mme go siame go hapana ka megopolo le ka dipuo. Challenge kgwetho e tona ke gore batho ga re bate go lemoga gore ga re tshwane mme bile megopolo ya rona ga ka ke ya nna e tshwana ka nako tsotlhe. Ga re ka nna le, that is the starting point. If we can come to acknowledge that we are different and we don't communicate the same way, and therefore we don't also interpret the messages or the communication that is sent out the same way, that will be the beginning, the starting point to us working towards being emotionally intelligent. And then, but communication, ga se gore ke go bua hela Go na le mehuta e harologaneng ya communication. We don't just communicate. Whether ke ka puo, whether ke ka ditiro, whether ke ka mokwalo, kana ka other different modes of communication. There are benefits. Why do we communicate? That's the first thing that a person has to ask themselves. Ke bua yana gore goreng, maikelo ke go dira eng, ke ikaelela go aga kana go kgauthanya kana go senya. Puo ya me a e direletse gore e age tšhaba, e tise kagiso, e fodise, e gomotse, e kgothatse kgotsa maikelo a puo ya me ke eng. Mela communication has benefits. And one of the benefits is the fact that it exists for us to exchange ideas. It exists for us to share our emotions in words or in actions. To share information. Go arogana megopolo. Go supana diphoso le go thusanya gore re baakanye dilo dingwe. Go botlhokwa gore when this happens, as we communicate, that we look at the communication that is going on and saying, what am I taking away from this? What am I learning from this? What should I take away? What am I acquiring from what is being said? Me, as a person who is speaking, as a communicator, moto on samulaiza, whether go ntsha ka puo kana go ntsha ka ditiro kana ke o ntsha ka mafoko kana go ntsha ka mokwalo, go botlhokwa gore ke ela thoko gape ke itse gore in communication there is what we call encoding. Go aga molaetsa, go bopa molaetsa, and transmission, go ntsha molaetsa, go isa molaetsa, and decoding. Gore yo utlwang yene o interpreta o utlwa molaetsa o reng ka tsela e ntseng yang o mora o reng gore ga ke ntsha molaetsa le ke le Tshidiana ke be ke ipotsa dipotso pele ga ke ka bula molomo wa me ke bua ke re gore molaetsa o ke tshwanetse go ntshe yang ke o ntsha ke bua le batho ba dingwaga tse di kae ba target group e. Am I targeting young people? Am I targeting adults? Am I targeting which particular group? Am I targeting employees? Am I targeting directors and leaders? Am I targeting teachers or learners or students? If I can have the cognizance that I'm releasing a message, maybe for example to a nation, I ought to pause and say, how should I package this message? And then how must I transmit this message? On the other hand, how is this message going to be received? And therefore, we always say in communication, for you to have good communication skills, you ought also be aware that how skills of communication, listening, you speak at the same time, pausing to see if you are getting feedback. Can you communicate to be able to be given feedback on what you are saying? Again, whether ke bua le bana, ke tshwanetse ke bue ke itse gore ha go nke expecta gore ba arabe, ba mphe dikakgelo le megopolo ya bone. Ha ile gore ke bua le babereki, I should be aware gore they will respond to what I'm saying, and therefore give a platform where they could be able to respond to what has been said. And also ke nne aware gore re tsamaya mo pakeng e ntseng yang mo dinakong tse di ntseng yang. Maikutlo a batho a ka tswa a le ha kae ka nako e ke buang le bone. If I'm talking to a nation, for example, and it's a hurting nation, and there's a lot of grief and loss. People are dying. People are in hospitals. People are overwhelmed from to nurse and to look after their close ones. I should be aware of the emotions around that. Similarly, whether I'm communicating le babereki ko tirong ke le managera kana ke communicator ko sekolong le botishara kana le bana ba sekolo, I should also be having an awareness gore bana ba bang go ba tlhokagaletswe ke batsadi go ra gore maikutlo a bone a ha kae. And therefore se ke se buang ba go se amogela yang se tshwanetse gore se tswe jang to avoid making the situation, their grieving situation, even worse and complicating the grieving and loss process. We grieve at different stages and different pace. So go itse go bopa mafoko, go itse go ntsha mafoko, go itse go ela tlhoko le go ranola se se buang se botlhokwa. Gape re tshwanetse re leboge gore somebody who is listening to me may interpret what I am saying influenced by perception ya gagwe le seemo sa tsamaya mo go sone. And therefore, communication is a process and it's a two-way process.
Yeah.
It's reciprocal and it's an engagement, a two-way engagement where you have a sender. We have
00131350013. I'm gonna need you is it something kana o file go go ga ba ka ngwa ga le hae 35001331 for South Carolina mo le tsamo 762818 but we continue the conversation on the other side of him Tuda and I listen to with a song called John Wick which we have more talk more music but before we go there are you 9 to 35 years old and in need of emotional support dial 17270 for free on air youth counseling tell a friend today that you can make it different. So if you remember more music 158, it's the right time on your dial. Get them to that one at the trail. You call the John Wick, more music, 7.9 into 100.9. www.2fm.co.bw for the DSTV audio with channel 919. Remote physically and emotionally in sync. Tshidi M Wyllie is on the line. We're talking communication skills. 35013135000131. I want to know from you. So, babatsadi la di membo ba ntlo go join di phone ka gore ke batla gore re le tsebe. Gore a dile batsadi jama. Di buisa go ba ntlo go join sen. Ka ga re buang ka teng. Rona le batsadi. A mme re buisa na shapo a ra godisama. A ra sore toka ra tora ra khabolla.
ra agana go aga.
Yeah. Mawili.
Hey, wa itse gore ke bo bundle of joy ga ba ka go romella melaetsa re to go gagamala gore dikgang tse di tswang ka bone tsa re kana bana bone ba e ba ya ka intse le ka ga ya ka ba tsewang ka teng ya no go botlhokwa gore re le thoko gore mo go buisaneng ga rona a re rekegelana maikutlo mo go buisaneng ga rona mo communication whether ke bua ka molomo whether ke bua ka WhatsApp ka SMS whether ke bua ko social media a ke rekegelana maikutlo le ba bangwe. Communication is a process, like I was saying just before we went on a short break. There is a sender, there is a mode, there is a receiver. If I intend to communicate effectively, I ought to be aware of this process. And therefore, I also have to be aware that there is a phase of decoding and a way of decoding a message or sending a message. in decoding a message, go na le gore batho ba ka dirisa their senses tse di harologaneng. The sense, the hearing sense, like hari bua mo rediong gone yana go na le batho ba re utlwang. The smelling, the smell, the touching, the tasting, of the five senses again. And therefore that is why mo botshelong le ko lapeng how there is your sense of smell or your sense of touch o khona go bona gore ngwana ga go ga itumella sengwe through the touch, through the smell, or khona go sense gore dijo they are ready, it's 1 o'clock, if lunch is almost ready, through your sense of smell again. Therefore, even in life, we are supposed to be paying attention to the things that are going on around us as we communicate with people. And then we interpret what we hear. And how we hear the message depends on a lot of things, a lot of factors, like our past experiences, our perceptions about the issues that are being discussed. Interpretation aruna influence wa thata go le go tona ke gore who is talking. If it's Thabiso, it's Mawyle, or why ke ba haba or ke se mamang, and then people automatically decide to switch off and not to benefit anything from the message that is being released, because ba lebeletse gore go bua mang. Ha go bua motho mongwe yo ba ipolelela gore ke motho yo rileng, then that's when they pay attention. And therefore, as a society, as a family, re tla latlhegelwa ha ile gore re tla lebella gore mahoko a hitisiwa ke mang a tswa ka mang. At the same time, ontsha mahoko has to be aware that mahoko a ya go bathong, and then a tswa a ntse jang, a ba ama jang, ba mo maikutong a ntseng jang. Similarly, in decoding a message, we evaluate actually. Ha re utlwa molaetsa o tswa, ra o lebella be re o assessa as batho ba readitseng, and then we decide whether this is valuable or is not valuable. We attach value or we dismiss the significance and the importance of that message mo botshelong ja rona. And we communicate ka di-senses gape. When somebody is hurting, often either they will cry, or they will keep quiet, or they will throw things, and that should be saying something to you. And when you go to social media, which is the mode of communication, and you see a lot of hate speech, and you see a lot of anger, and you see a lot of bashing and insults, you should be pausing as a person and say, what is the real message underlying mahoko ake a bonang a kwadilwe? What is being communicated? Are you seeing a lot of anger in these messages? What could that mean? Are people hurting right now? Could this be the reason why melaetsa e tswa in tseka ha entseng ka teng? And therefore, when you respond to people who are hurting, be aware what the people are hurting. Le ko lapeng re buisana jang? Are we building each other, or are we destroying each other in the way we communicate? Ha ke ntsha mahoko ke responder to what you are saying. When you say something, what is going on here? I'm introspecting, I'm processing what you're saying. Where is that coming from?
Yeah.
Could I have said something that triggered that? Nah. That makes you to respond that way. What is it that I say, and how did I say it that evoked and invited this kind of a response? Again, so there are responses, and our responses sometimes can be passive or active. Passive in the sense that sometimes we see a message and we hear a message and we decide to do nothing and not to respond and not to take action. Not taking action and not doing anything and not saying anything, you are also communicating by not doing that. There is a message there. And then as somebody who expected you to say something or to respond, when I see you are not saying anything and you are not taking any action, I should pause also and say, why is this happening? What could be the issue at hand here?
Yeah.
Could this person anchakaletse? Did I say something se se mo khupisitseng? Ke ntshitse ke mo kwaletse message o le o ntsia mo WhatsApp kana mo Facebook. Mahoko a me a na a dula a sena sekhupi mo teng. Could I have had this person? Ha e le gore we are speaking in person, I could also be saying, reflecting on the sentence and the phrases that I just said. Then if I took a time to pause and think, I'll realize that, I think the way I packaged my message, then there is nothing wrong with going back to you and saying, I realized that the way I packaged and sent out my message was insensitive. I am sorry. Please forgive me. The tendency is for us when we are hurting or we are hurt not to be able to acknowledge that we are hurting. Rather, I'll bash you back. Respond down to what you have said. We don't want to response. So communication, able talk, the skill is outside. Some of the skills is to pay attention to the message, analyze this message, go over what is being said, and ask yourself questions. Was it intended to hurt and to provoke me? Or could it be that the person who said it doesn't know how best to transmit the message? Because we are all gifted in communicating. There are some people who have limitations who just speak anyhow. Remember last week when we were talking about all those different types of social styles of interaction? That drivers will just say anything anyhow. I get it. You look at that and say, something is going on. What could be going on? Could it be that this person is just part of who they are, their personality, they just don't know how to communicate better? Maikuto a batho ba bangwe. Go na le batho ba setseng ile gore ba itse whether ke ko lapeng, whether ke ko ditirong, whether ke mo setšhabeng, gore ga ba itse puo. Mahoko a bone a tswa anyhow. Me mahoko a tswang anyhow a khobera gaage. A tshwanetse go tswe mahoko a ileng gore a bepisa, a ira gore e we modiga ha ile gore there is a situation mo lapeng ko tirong kana re le setšhaba mo setšhabeng. Jaanong mme ga re ntsha mahoko anyhow a kuketsa molelo, a gakatsa ga a dire gore e we modiga. A kere. So it's important that we are aware of that, and also being aware of the fact that there are different types of types and modes of communication.
And I actually want us to take a look at those different types of communication. Even it being the one the Amazon
Go botlhokwa thata a ka re ntse re buang go na le bangwe kwa ba reeditseng ba ile gore ba fila gore wa itse gore nna ke na le lebaka ke sa tsege sente ke sa tseiwe sente, and then ga ke buisiwe sente ga ke rekegelwe maikuto a me ga rekegelwe and so sa teng sa nkama a kere. So the types include things like is it functional? Functional communication again it's where the facts is containing facts and is supporting itself with enough information. Functionally, give message o serve a purpose. Maybe I'm communicating by next week Saturday, gonna go how we get or functional or serve a purpose here who relay that message so that we can meet, something can be done. I get it. And then there is emotional type of communication, which I actually want to share my grief. And I want to share I'm depressed, I'm upset, I am angry. But at the same time, emotional communication, it's through gifting, I can show love. Through hugging, touching, I can communicate my love. Through various ways, I can communicate compassion. Due to COVID protocol, we are avoiding showing up at funerals. If I just send a message by WhatsApp, that is communicating and then we have the most dear Harluhana. I can communicate verbally. And verbally, I can also communicate in writing. And I can also communicate my emotions and my feelings, including chakalo, haile horete. Chakalo haile horete malapeng. Chakalo haile horete makareng karunadil babedi. Chakalo haile horete mohorona rele sichaba. Some people can communicate it verbally. Some people, in the past, I remember, it used to be communicated kamabogo, kalebogo, I get it. Kokoteng. Ha akosiatsa na gota bogotola kwa kalebogo ho atsa tsankiwa. Me la ha dirile diphoso go gongwe mo lebokong lone le o ta bo ithela gona le motsatsanko o mokgalang a kere. Hey, so communication can be verbal, can be written, and it can be expressed in action. We say that is non-verbally. Non-verbally, without saying anything, we also communicate how we feel. We communicate our thoughts through gestures, through body language. Ukila wana otsana kholo o le la wo khona o bana gore motho le ga go checki. Ga go rekegele. Through body language, you are saying dumelang, hello everybody, hi guys, and the other person just decide to just ignore you. And you just get the message, or maybe they woke up at the wrong side of the bed today. But then you don't respond the same way like they are doing. Use a different approach. Maybe they want to be singled out and say, Tshidi, I was just saying hi. Are you okay? Are you good? Are we good? Then the person will eventually probably express if maybe you have had them